It will be a message in continuation on God. In this message, we come to see God's attributes and His good pleasure and His manifestation. When we use the word attributes, we mean something more than virtues. We mean not only virtues, but all the belongings of God, all the things that belong to God. Of course, with God, all these are His belongings. But when these atoms become our experience, they all become our virtues. With God, it is the attributes, but with us, it is a matter of virtues. For instance, the first item here, life. Well, it's hard for us to say life is a virtue of God. Could you see this? It's hard for us to say life is a virtue. But it is easier to say that love is a virtue. You see, the first item is life, and the second is love. I don't think it's logical to say life is a virtue. But it's altogether logical to say that love is a virtue. But when life of God becomes our experience, it produces virtue. With God, it is an attribute, and with us, it is a virtue. This is why in all our writings, when you come to God, we use the word attributes. When you come to us, we change the word to virtues. Here, I don't know, but let me count. I believe it is altogether 34 items, right? From A to Z, then plus A to 8. Altogether, 34 items. I believe, again, I have exhausted the New Testament in picking up God's attributes. If you like to spend more time, please do it. I hope that you could find something more. Don't forget, if you get something more, call me and let me know. I'd like to add your finding into the second edition. The first attribute that God has is His divine life. And the Bible has a verse, I would say Ephesians 4:18 is the unique verse that tells us the life of God. Even though this word life has been used too many times in the New Testament, but it never mentioned the life of God, but in Ephesians 4:18. This is quite unique. Then the second is love. We all know that God does have love. Of course, He is love. As love, He surely has love. And I just quote to you two verses which you are so familiar with. John 3:16, you all know, God so loved the world. And the Ephesians 2:4, His great love, and so forth. And then C, light. You have to read Revelation chapter 21 and 22. I like these three words, life, love, and light, all begins with L. D, riches. I don't think many readers of the New Testament have ever paid much attention rather sufficient teaching to the riches of God. But in Revelation and in Ephesians 1, you do have this item of God's belonging. That is the riches. The riches. This is quite an all-inclusive expression. Then E, holiness. Holiness in our writings in the past, in many occasions, we have defined in a way that holiness refers to God's nature. In righteousness in our writings, we have referred righteousness to God's way, God's doing. God's nature is holy, and God's way in doing things is righteous. Then G, wisdom. I believe you all know it's hard for human mentality to understand what is wisdom. Too many of us are very clever. Don't consider cleverness as wisdom. Suppose a bank robber goes to rob the bank. He's very clever in robbing the bank, but it's altogether foolish. He's not wise. If he were wise, he would never do the robbing. But he did it in a clever way. Sure, I cannot do it. I don't have that much cleverness. I sure have wisdom not to rob the bank. Then H, prudence. Well, in between wisdom and cleverness, there is prudence. What is prudence? You tell me, please. Prudence is a stairway, just like the stairway connects the first floor with the second floor, right? If you go up to wisdom for cleverness, you need prudence. The bank robbers, if they would not stay in their cleverness, if they would come up the stairway of prudence, they will reach wisdom. I illustrate this way. Do you believe that I'm right in my interpretation? Otherwise, you give me an interpretation. What is the difference between prudence, wisdom, and cleverness? Try to explain. Okay? From what country you came, brother? From where you came? Lagos. Okay. A brother here from Lagos. Okay, brother. Would you please tell me what do you understand by the word in the Bible, prudence? You have the reference here. Ephesians 1:8. If I read it, let's check a little bit. With the recovery, I have full confidence in this version, not in other versions. Ephesians 1:8. Read to us loudly. Ephesians 1:8.
Which he caused to abound to us in all wisdom and prudence.
Yeah. All wisdom and prudence. Now, what is the difference between wisdom and prudence? Hi, Brother John, would you help us? It's fine. Not according to my definition, but according to yours.
Well, I think I'm influenced by the footnote from Ephesians 1:8.
I forget that. Would you please read to me? Yeah, read to me, please. I forget there is a footnote on this word prudence.
Okay. Wisdom is what is within God to plan and purpose a will concerning us. Prudence is the application of God's wisdom.
There you go. Now, it doesn't contradict with my interpretation this morning.
Let me read this the rest.
Okay?
God firstly planned and purposed in His wisdom, and then He applied what He had planned and purposed for us with prudence. Wisdom was mainly for God's plan in eternity, and prudence is mainly for God's execution of His plan in time.
Right.
What God planned in eternity in His wisdom, He is now executing in time in His prudence.
That's the go. Very good. Good news. But it doesn't contradict with my profession this morning. I would say this. It is a ladder. Ladder. L-A-D-D-R. It's pathway. If you do have the wisdom, you will have the proper cleverness. And the proper cleverness is just prudence. To do things not in a stupid way, but in a clever way. And that is prudence. Faithfulness. We all know this. You better read these two verses, which I consider the best among similar verses concerning God's fullness in the New Testament. One is God is faithful, who called us into the fellowship of His Son. Then the others, God is faithful, surely He will forgive us according to His word. Then simplicity, truthfulness. Well, you may understand truthfulness as faithfulness, but there's a little difference. Truthfulness here means your faithfulness has a base, and that base is the truth, the reality. So, I quoted you Romans 3:7 and 15:8. I do believe in both of these two verses, King James render wrongly. Would you read King James? The Chinese version also renders wrongly. The Chinese version renders truth for the truth. I think King James rendered either truth or faithfulness. In what King James says, 3:7.
For the truth of God.
You see, for the truth of God. And there the word is not truth. There the word denotes truthfulness. Yeah, not truth. So King James is the same as the Revised or American Standard Version, which the Chinese version follows. It is not the truth. It is the truthfulness. And if you read as truth, you couldn't get through in that verse. It's hard for you to interpret in that way. But if you put truthfulness, it's easier for you to understand that verse. I remember, I do have a good note. Well, you can look into it. There might be a good note on Romans 15:8 on the word truthfulness. If not, there is such a note in somewhere else. I explain these. Well, you better look into the note, I believe, note 6 in 1 John chapter 1 on the word truth. Which note gives you 8 different definitions of the matter of truth. One is on truthfulness. There. Okay. Now we go on to simplicity. Do you like to be simple? Do you know that in the Proverbs, in the Old Testament, of course, there was in the Old Testament, to be simple in the Proverbs is a negative expression. That means foolish. You are a simple person. You are a foolish person. And the Chinese version in Proverbs always render simple into foolish. To the simple is foolish. Could you imagine that God is simple? Do you understand me? I tell you, in many occasions, God is simple, not so clever as you are. Your cleverness always makes you complicated. You are a complicated person. Why? Because you are too clever. You are not simple. Be simple. Our God is simple. So, simplicity is one of His attributes. Then, sincerity. Why I put sincerity following simplicity? Because, listen to this, a sincere person is always simple. A clever person is always not sincere. Sincerity comes out of simplicity. Try to test this when you contact brothers and sisters. If you are a simple person, I have to trust in you. I know that you are sincere. If you are a complicated person, I don't have any trust in you because you are too clever. You have too many side doors or back exits. Then goodness, we all know this. But I still like to check with you. What do you mean by the word goodness? It means He's good, right? Goodness, in the New Testament sense, does not only denote being good, but also it denotes being gracious. We are not only good, we are very gracious. For instance, this morning, you give a breakfast according to my taste. That is your goodness. Doesn't mean that you are only a good person, right? But it means you are so gracious to me. You see, your being good gives me something gracious. God is not only good, but He's also gracious. And this goodness here is different from grace. Later on we'll get on it. Then mercy. Mercy, in the past, we have explained in a way that the most reaching attributes of all God has is mercy. Mercy reaches the farthest. God's love doesn't reach so far as His grace. And His grace doesn't reach so far as His mercy. We used to give a gift, a free gift, that is a grace, to the persons they love, right? But I tell you, here's a person you don't love, but pitiful. Then what shall you do with him? You will be merciful to him, right? So mercy reaches further than love and grace. Compassion. Oh, this is hard. This is hard to differentiate what is mercy from compassion. I didn't spend that much time because I didn't have that much time. If I had, I would spend on the Greek words to find out the difference between these two words. I hope you translators, including one understand, who knows great Brother Curry, will spend some time to find out the denotations of these two words and what different. To my understanding, sometimes our understanding of the Bible, if we do have the experience with insight, sometimes we understand the Word of the Bible much better than we understand the Greek. According to my knowledge, mercy is not so deep as compassion. Compassion goes deeper. Mercy is somewhat outward, and compassion is somewhat inward. It goes into your being deeper and deeper. Mercy would not last too long as compassion. Compassion goes deeper and lasts longer. This is my understanding. It may be wrong. I would ask the scholar, the great scholars among us, to study this matter. Then grace, we all know. Grace is a free gift, yet in the New Testament usage, grace means God Himself given to us for our enjoyment. I believe many of you have noticed that there is a hymn written by us in our hymnal defining grace. The highest definition of grace is God Himself to be our enjoyment. Then out of this enjoyment, that's grace given to us, actually it is God Himself, comes peace. So this is why in all the epistles written by Paul especially, firstly he says, grace be to you and peace. Peace follows grace. If we enjoy God as our free gift, as grace, surely we have peace. Then if we have peace, we have joy. Then if we have joy, we have hope. The beautiful person without any joy, they could never have any hope. But we have grace, we have peace, we have joy, so we are full of hope. Then encouragement, if you have hope, you have encouragement. Encouragement most of the times sometimes renders comfort. But if you would study, you could find out comfort is not so strong as encouragement. So we prefer to have the word encouragement than comfort. Then kindness. All these attributes are quite difficult for human mentality to explain. Kindness. What is kindness? Well, kindness, this according to my experience and my understanding, is that you are always not so cold and not so hard. You are always warm, soft, right? I don't believe a hard and cold person could be kind. If you are going to be cold and hard, you can never be kind. To be kind means you to be quite warm and quite softened, right? Of course, it includes also meekness, right? Meekness. You're very meek, very softened, very warm, and also very humble. Proud persons can never be kind, right? This is all what I can tell you. Then forbearance. Okay, you must study those messages on forbearance. The message is given on Philippians chapter 4. You know, I still remember one sentence of this message. I give this message here on this platform. Full of forbearance, no anxiety. It needs quite a few messages to explain the attributes of God or the virtues we have as forbearance. You have to study this message. I believe there should be at least 4 messages given You have anxiety, you don't have forbearance. You have forbearance, you don't have anxiety. Now, long suffering. You have to realize King James used the word patience for long suffering in translating the New Testament. But we prefer to have long suffering. It is not just patience, it's long suffering. Now the word explains itself, right? To suffer long. Well, your husband gives you a long face, but his face is not that long compared with your suffering. You see, your suffering has to exceed in length his face. Right? Suppose his long face measures 2 feet, and your suffering should measure 20 feet. Long suffering, then you could react properly to the long face of the husband. Endurance. Very close to long suffering. Right? It's hard to translate these 3 words: patience, long suffering, endurance. Some of the versions mix up these 3 things. You may have long suffering, but you don't have endurance. Your long suffering has to be enduring. Then you have endurance. I think I can tell the truth according to my observation and my own experience. Quite often, the wife or the husband would say to the other party, "Don't you know, I've been long suffering. I've been patient with you for 3 days. I just couldn't be patient any longer." This means what? Your endurance is ended. You have patience, you don't have endurance. Right? You may have long suffering, you don't have endurance. If you are short of endurance, your long suffering is ended. Then jealousy. Jealousy is a negative thing, but all God has. I tell you, in the whole universe, the most jealousy one is God. He is jealous. He hates anyone that doesn't love him. Solely. Wholly. He hates you, love him, and love others. He hates. The Bible uses these referring to the husband being jealous, over his wife. No husband would tolerate to see that the wife would have another man beside the husband. So God is jealous, and he has surely jealousy. If you read 2 Corinthians 11:2. Severity. He is very severe. He's loving, yet he's severe. He has love, yet he has severity. Then all the rest are another category: glory, honor, majesty, sovereignty, authority, power, strength, and might. It's hard to explain all these items. What I can say is glory is just God himself expressed. It refers to condition. Honor, it refers to a position. Right? He has a high position. That is his honor. When our president comes to us, he, as the president, does have the honor. The presidency gives him the position or the rank. So, honor refers to position and rank glory refers to the condition. Majesty, I don't have the proper word to explain. I would say this: majesty is the totality of glory plus honor. If you have glory plus honor, sure you have majesty. Sovereignty. No doubt you have the three: glory, honor, and majesty. You are sovereign. You are sovereign, right? Sovereignty, to my understanding, means ability, power, authority, and strength without any limitation. You are sovereign. Even in the matter of rank and position, God doesn't have any limitation. You don't know how high is his rank. You don't know. But we know how high is Mr. Reagan's rank. But with God, you don't know how high is his rank. He's sovereign. He's sovereign. You don't know how glorious is he. He's sovereign. You don't know how honorable is he. He's sovereign. You see, you don't know how majestic is he. He's sovereign. With human beings, glory, honor, and majesty all have limitations. But with God, in all these things, he doesn't have any limitation. Not only with power, authority, wisdom, and so forth. There's no limitation. He's sovereign. He's a sovereign. So, such a one surely has the authority. You can read all the verses. Then, you know, authority is stronger than power. A policeman is standing on the street with his uniforms. He doesn't have much power. He's a big person, right? He could be knocked down by a boy, but he has the authority to stop cars after cars. You see, there with policemen, you see the authority. With a boxer, in the TV, I don't encourage you to see that. You see the boxer, he's strong boxer, came from Africa. He's more powerful. He knocked down everybody. But he doesn't have the authority. A great policeman may have authority stronger than he. Then, following power, you have strength. And following strength, you have might. The New Testament, describing God, gives us all these different attributes. To my understanding, power is inferior to authority, and strength is lower than power, and might is not so strong as strength. You may have that much might, but you don't have the strength yet. You have much strength, but you don't have the power. You may have power, you don't have the strength or the authority. You have the authority, yet you don't have the sovereignty. Now, you may argue if we try the best today, after reading all the references. Now, after the attributes, we come to God's good pleasure. Please, don't consider God's good pleasure as his attributes. Could you see this? God's good pleasure is not an attribute. This is a desire on his heart. This is not an attribute. Do you know, only life, even the lowest life, has a pleasure. You could see even the little ant, it has its pleasure. The highest is the life. The best, the highest is the pleasure. God has the highest life, so He has the highest pleasure. And I do believe in this room, every one of you has a pleasure. But don't check me out what pleasure I have. I won't tell you. But I do have a pleasure. Day by day, I enjoy something. I tell you, if I don't have a pleasure, I don't have enjoyment.
Right.
If I am just a piece of marble, what I enjoy? I enjoy nothing. I don't need an enjoyment, but I need a lot of enjoyment because I have a good pleasure. Don't you have? Right? Say it. You all have. Don't hide yourself. Don't cheat me. I have. Tell me the truth. Sometimes some young considering me just as a piece of wood. They think brother is so spiritual, so high, mysterious, so he doesn't have any place. He is just like a piece of wood or a piece of marble. Yes, the very Mary outside of the Catholic Cathedral. You know how to marry that? Marble Mary. She doesn't have enjoyment. Right? You go to strike her, she has no reaction because she's a piece of marble. But tonight, not tonight, this morning, if I just check you a little bit, I tell you, your skin reacts. Right? Because you are not a piece of wood, not a piece of marble, you are a living person. You like what? You like me to bless you, to help you, to say good things to you. Am I right? You have a pleasure. Now, what is God's pleasure? Don't look at the message. It's online. What is God's pleasure? When I was young, the missionaries on the Sunday classes told us God's pleasure is to love man. God so loved the world. You shouldn't say that is not God's pleasure. But you shouldn't just quote one verse from the Bible. You have to read the entire New Testament. Here's the conclusion of the New Testament. God's good pleasure is to have many sons. To have many sons. You will read all the references. God is there to have many sons. Well, now I'm in the U.S. and I came from China. Among the southern Chinese, especially according to my knowledge, the Sichuanese, they like to have more boys. One of my relatives, he himself begat, I believe, 10 sons by himself. Yes, he still adopted another 2 to make 12 sons. To him, it is better to have 2 brothers. Jacob only had 12 sons. Some Sichuanese wanted to have double portion of Jacob. 24 sons, 24 boys. The Americans are different, but you have to know the Chinese are more scriptural. The Americans doesn't propagate according to the Bible. I'm not joking. God's way is not to limit propagation. Rather, God wants man to be propagated, that the whole earth can be replenished by humankind. The more sons you have, God is happy with you. Well, of course, my teacher knows I guess economy. Anyhow, God wants to have many sons. Not only 2 dozens, millions of dozens. Could you tell me how many sons God has? Even in this room, over 1,700. Before incarnation and resurrection, God only had one only begotten Son. That was Jesus Christ. But after His incarnation, through resurrection, God produced thousands, in millions of sons. And this is for the expression of His Son. Let the way see that He may be expressed in the Son through the Spirit. This is God's desire. God's desire is just to have many sons to express God's only begotten Son, who is now the firstborn of many brothers. When this Son is expressed, God is expressed in this Son through the Spirit. Again, what is this? This is God dispensing of Himself into His children people to produce a corporate expression. The same thing. This is why, after reading the Bible thoroughly, you just come to one conclusion. The entire Bible reveals the same one thing. That is God's New Testament economy. And God's New Testament economy is just to dispense Himself into His children people to produce many sons to form a corporate expression. That is the church which will consummate in the New Jerusalem. I believe you should have got it. Okay, such a God, not only with so many items of what He is, but also with more items of His activities. Such a God is now dispensing Himself into us with all what He is and with all what He has. What He is His person, 20 items in the preceding message. And what He has is 34 items in this message. And God is dispensing Himself into us with all the items of what He is, and with all the items with what He has. You have to realize, while you are under God's dispensing, I tell you, all these attributes of God are being infused into your being. I tell you, I don't have to say negative things concerning others, but I have to speak the truth. Today, so many teachings among the Christians are so limited. This is why I like to have such a conclusion to show you how many items of God's person and how many aspects of God's attributes. Now you could see of God's person 20 items and of God's attributes 34. While God is dispensing Himself into your me, He is dispensing Himself with all what He is and with all what He has. What He has: life, love, light, riches, holiness, righteousness, wisdom, prudence, faithfulness, truthfulness, and so forth. Probably you never realize. You never realize. I can tell you, the more you're under God's dispensing, the more simple you become. I saw this in the past. I didn't know some brothers who are so complicated. Yet, after certain years of God dispensing, they all become so simple. Young wives, let me tell you, if there's any problem in your marriage life, you have to listen to me as an old man. 95% due to your what? You're not being simple. If you are a simple lady, you will not suffer much in marriage life. In marriage life. Do you like to enjoy your marriage life? Be simple. But it's not so easy. Think about it, young wives. Could you be simple? The husband, the same thing. But I like to tell you, according to my experience, the wives are much more not so simple. If you are going to enjoy your marriage life, just be under God's dispensing. That makes you so simple. You believe me? So, all these items of God's attributes are being dispensed into you when you are under God's dispensing all the day. Spontaneously, even unconsciously, you become so kind, so good, so simple, and also so powerful. You believe me? And so capable, and so mighty. You believe me? You may check with me, brother, from where your wisdom comes, from where your race comes, your dad comes, from where, from nowhere, but the dispensing of God. If I don't spend certain time with the Lord, it may be hard for me to give message here. So, try to remain in the dispensing of God, then you will get all these divine attributes which all will become your virtues. Now we come to the last item this morning, His manifestation. I put these two items together with a purpose to show you what God has as the attributes. Then He has a good pleasure to administer. For this purpose, He manifested Himself. And His manifestation is in Christ as an individual expression in the flesh. Firstly. Secondly, in the church, the body of Christ, as the enlarged corporate expression in the flesh. And lastly, in New Jerusalem, as the consummated corporate expression in the new creation. Notice, please, I put these two phrases into these three expressions. I put the phrase in the flesh twice, and I put in the new creation once. You have to know, Christ expressed God in the flesh. When He was on this earth, living a life, expressing God in the flesh. He was not a new thing. Of course, in a sense, He was new. But when he was on this earth working among the Jews, he was the same as the Jews. All the Jews were old creation, he was too. This is why he was crucified on the cross in the flesh. That means he was crucified on the cross not as a new creation, but as an old creation in the flesh. And today, the church, we are now expressing God not in the new creation, because we are still in the old creation. This is marvelous, and this is really excellent. You and I were born in old creations, yet we can express God. Why? Because as old creations, we do have the divine life within us. So today, God is manifesting himself in us, in the flesh, as old creation. But one day will come, the old creation will be over, old heaven and old earth will all be over, everything will be new. Then in the new creation, that means the new heaven and new earth, the new Jerusalem will express God to the uttermost in the new creation. And you have to know, whatever God has, God wants to impart into you, to infuse into you. And this is his good pleasure, to have so many sons, with all what he is and with all what he has, that he could be manifested. And this manifestation is firstly in Christ in an individual way, in the flesh, and secondly, or finally, in the church in a corporate way, in the flesh also. But eventually, this will consummate in the new creation as a corporate all these again depend on God. This is matter of God. I tell you, this is again economy, New Testament economy.